Yo, what's up guys, welcome back. So, the Xyz Festival, a couple of days in, and finally, Konami decided to increase the prices while winning a match, obviously to counter the, the sale of burn decks that we saw mainly during the first day. Anyway, so again, referencing to Road of the King, 10 decks that are super popular. Some of them, I don't know. Again, as Road of the King mentions, I mean, all of these are just perfect, are just fine to try to get, what is it, 20k medals? I mean, let's go for it. Some decks are pretty self-explanatory, are already known that they are superb with Xyz. Some of them are somewhat surprising. So the first one, I think, is no surprise, being Zodiac. It's not an expensive deck. Again, I think we all know how Zodiac works. This particular list is, the one that mentioned on Road of the King is running Solemn Judgment. You don't need to run Judgment, obviously. Same for Impermanence, but I mean, in an Xyz Festival where stuff like True King of All Calamities is one of the best Xyz in the game, you need probably the Impermanence, but the Book of Moon, that's definitely an interesting run. I mean, something like Compulsory Evacuation Device might also be a nice tech card as well. But again, Zodiac, not an expensive deck to craft, especially for this particular event. The second one, I feel, even though I'm not playing it, I was really close to craft the cards, because as you see here in the list on the right, Numeron OTK, it's very fast deck. You always want to go second, obviously, because you want to OTK your opponent as fast as possible, closing the game as soon as possible. And again, the deck as a whole, Numeron as a whole, is not really the most expensive deck. I guess the spell, the Numeron spell, and then some extra cards like the Kaijus are definitely needed. Lightning Storm, to force either monster effects or monsters as a whole, destroy them. Back row, Twin Twisters. Red Reboot is also an expensive one. Limited removal is not needed, as I see now. It's an ultra rare, so it's an iffy one. I wouldn't waste my, card points, the ultra ones here, on limited removal, but I mean, if you still need a deck to play, then I feel from all the decks, if it's not Zodiac, just go for Numeron, because again, it's one of the fastest deck to get you there, right? 20k medals if you really want to go to at least the whole way, right? The third one, again, is no surprise. It's a deck that, again, here on the left, being pure Lyrilisk, rank 1 the deck. It's still a very powerful Xyz engine. A lot of rank 1s are strong. You can end on Zeus, obviously. Multiple materials you could OTK with your Lyrilisk Xyz. Multiple direct attacks, for example. You can eventually Xyz summon the Utopic one, so for monster effect negation. So this deck is super versatile. It's super consistent. I mean, look at the deck. You're running so many search cards. It's probably one of the decks that, if Konami decides to implement a ban list on Master Duel, it's probably one of the decks that might get an X. Who knows? The next one is something that I haven't mentioned or didn't mention in my top 5 decks for Xyz Festival, but I was like, without Cherubini, talking about Phantom Knights, the deck loses a lot of power, but still, it's still a very powerful rank 3 engine with, I believe it's Thorn Scale, Tear Scale, the Foolish Burial, Reborn itself from the graveyard. Plus, you could, this particular list is running Crossart Designator, which, as you know, is an ultra rare. It's quite of an expensive card. That is why you don't see it that much, even though Maxi is everyone and their mother is running Maxi. So, main decking Crossout, I feel it's needed if it wasn't for the ultra rare card points you needed, to craft that. But Teleport is, obviously a 2-off here on Master Duel, but I'd like to see that come back to 3. But Dante is there, and speaking of Dante, that should be the next one. Yeah, here on the left, again, a deck that I haven't mentioned yet. And the thing is that Burning Abyss has Fire Lake. It's a powerful trap. The particular player here is not running it, but it's something that could catch people by surprise. Problem of Burning Abyss, I feel, is obviously Maxi. And the fact that it doesn't have Cherubini, but it struck me that, and I saw it in the list here, is that Beatrice is a 3. Beatrice is a 3. Who remembers the Full Force Burning Abyss days? When was that? 2000. 16, somewhere 15, 16, triple Beatrice, triple Dante, and I mean, for stalling, card resource management, Burning Abyss is definitely one of the best decks. And some tech cards here with double evenly matched, again catching people by surprise. I'm a fan of evenly matched in the main deck. Right side again, and that's something I would not have expected. It's one of the two Pendulum decks here featured today, and that's Magicians or Pendulum Magicians. Obviously you can't run any Link monsters, no Synchros, which obviously you kinda need for Pendulums, you know, to gain the full effect of the Pendulum mechanic. But it's still a super grindy deck, I guess. You can still play your, what is it called, Time Star Magician, I believe the name is, of the rank 4 Pendulum Magician Xyz. You know which one I mean. Plus, and that's also something that Road of the King mentions, is obviously Bakuska. Bakuska is your generic to go to rank 4 Xyz that just puts at the end of your turn or end of main phase, put it in defense position or summon it in defense position and pretty much prevent your opponent from using monster effects for the rest of the entire turn. So it's basically a Dimensional Barrier alike card or a Skill Drain alike card for your opponent during their turn, and then during the next turn you could potentially go for games. So Pendulum Magicians, again, something I would not have expected, but it's there because again it has some, you know, very good rank 4 Xyz monsters. And speaking of a deck that I definitely would not have expected in this tournament, simply because, well, it's Virtual World here on the left, simply because, as you know, Virtual World is somewhat heavily relying on level 6 Synchros, Coral Dragon, Stardust Charge Warrior, what's it called there, level 9 Synchro, you know which one I mean, the one that banishes cards, and so on and so on, like Cloud Castle, and the list goes on. And obviously because of True King of all calamities, right? But this particular list, and that's a cool tech, is that Beatrice is live. You know, you can go for Beatrice very easily with double level 6 monsters, but Beatrice can send, and that's the card here on the third row, the fourth from the left, and that's, I believe it's called Trias Hierarchia, I believe that's the name. I tried the card out a couple of months ago in Agents, you know, one of the upcoming structure decks from the OCG, but you can send it to the graveyard. It's a level 9, and then you can reborn it by sending Beatrice to the graveyard, and obviously you can make another level 9 using one of your level 6 Virtual World monsters, and then their trap card, right, to banish it from the grave and then add 3 levels to make another level 9 on the field. So that's an easy, somewhat of an easy True King of all calamities, even though you don't have access to Synchro monsters, so I definitely like this strategy. And then one of the last ones, 3 more decks left, iffy ones. This right one is a deck that we know, or at least we know, that there are more events coming. There is a Synchro Cup, a Synchro event coming, and this is definitely playable, if I'm not mistaken, or could, you know, if Konami decides to change things as well. But, and that's why this deck is so powerful, is that cards like Ojama Trio, giving your opponent like useless monsters, your opponent can't link them away, because obviously you are not able to use link monsters or play link monsters, so those cards that give your opponent tokens are fantastic, it prevents them again from playing the duel or playing the game. So it's basically a burn deck. It is what it is, even though it's not the self-burn FTK deck. So the 2 last ones, I'm going to combine both of them. The left one is the second Pendulum deck featured here on Road of the King. It's Clifford. It's basically the same as Eldritch. Your power card is Clifford Scout here on the left, on the top left corner, your normal Pendulum monster, which basically, you know, pay 800, search any Clifford card from your deck. So it's a once per turn searcher, and as you see, very similar to the Eldritch, you know, deck is you're running a lot of floodgates. That's the thing. Super control based as well, with sacrifice, stealth, you know, put the pressure on your opponent. And then last but not least is Phantasm Spiral. Not a huge fan of this deck. Again, it's somewhat heavy control based deck. I feel it's sometimes an unfair deck. It's definitely not fun to play against, with, you know, their ability to activate trap cards directly from the hand and, you know, negate stuff, pop stuff. Plus Skill Drain is just a super annoying card. So for me, that's it. We still have a couple of days left in the Xyz Festival. I'm probably pretty much done. Have most rewards that I want. But these 10 decks are definitely something that you might want to give a try. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. Likem signing out. Peace.